please.
Thank you. The Manus, the seven sages, and various other who are the living entities that came out from Krishna's mind. Manasa Putras are the sages, the Kumaras, the Manus, and their sons, of course. They come from the sons, from the Manus themselves. So this is what Krishna spoke in the 6th verse. In the 7th verse is where he's 4th and 5th verses, he speaks about the qualities, various qualities that he has described, that everything comes from him, even the opposites, the dualities also come from him. But Prabhupada had a very nice explanation to those, whatever it is. If it is infamy, it is related to not being a devotee of the Lord, and so on. So that's what Krishna covers in the first section covers. It's knowing the unknowable, unknowability of Krishna, knowing that. And then the next word, section 8 to 11, is about the bhakti, pure bhakti, and the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Again, we are talking about the essence of Bhagavad Gita. In these two chapters, 9 and 10, are anyway middle section of the bhakti portion, as well as the entire Bhagavad Gita. So they are actually covering most of the essential topics of Bhagavad Gita. So these seed verses, or what we're going to recite today, are actually called Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavatam also, there are Chatushlokis. That is, there are 4 sets of verses spoken by Krishna that in essence describes the entire Bhagavatams, is essence of Bhagavatam. So Bhagavad Gita also has that kind of verses called seed verses or essence, Chatushloki Bhagavad Gita, 8 to 11. Where Krishna speaks, it's in a nutshell the essence of entire Bhagavad Gita. So what Krishna is going to speak, which he has not already spoken. Probably we'll see that. Okay, so we'll go into the verses. Very beautiful to recite. 1, 2 of them are your memorization verses. However, no harm in reciting or remembering all the 4. Probably we can recite all the 4, remember them, and constantly, regularly you can recite them in your prayers. It's very wonderful too. Uma Mataji, can you recite after me, please? Aham sarvasya prabhavo.
Aham sarvasya prabhavo.
Matta sarvam pravartate.
Matta sarvam pravartate.
Iti matva bhajante mam.
Iti matva bhajante mam.
Buddha bhava samanvitaha.
Buddha bhava samanvitaha.
Translation: I am the source of all spiritual material words. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. You can read the purport.
A learned scholar who has studied the Vedas perfectly and has information from authorities like Lord Chaitanya and who knows how to apply these teachings can understand that Krishna is the origin of everything in both the material and spiritual worlds. And because he knows this perfectly, he becomes firmly fixed in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord. He can never be deviated by any amount of nonsensical commentaries or by fools. All Vedic literature agrees that Krishna is the source of Brahma, Shiva, and all other demigods. In the Atharva Veda, Gopala Tapani Upanishad 1.24, it is said, Yo Brahmanam Vidadati Purvam, Yo Vai Vedamscha Gapayati Sma Krishna. It was Krishna who in the beginning instructed Brahma in Vedic knowledge and who disseminated Vedic knowledge in the past. Then again, the Narayana Upanishad says, Ata Purusho ha vai Narayano Kamayata Praja Shreyeti. Then the Supreme Personality Narayana desired to create living entities. The Upanishad continues, Narayanad Brahma Jayate नारायणात् प्रजापति प्रजायते, नारायणात् इन्द्रो जायते, नारायणात् अस्तौ वशवो जायन्ते, नारायणाद् एकादश रुद्र जायन्ते, नारायणाद् द्वादशादित्य. From Narayana, Brahma is born, and from Narayana, the patriarchs are also born. From Narayana, Indra is born. From Narayana, the 8 Vasus are born. From Narayana, the 11 Rudras are born. From Narayana, the 12 Adityas are born. This Narayana is an expansion of Krishna. It is said in the same Vedas, Brahmanyo Devaki Putra. The son of Devaki, Krishna is a supreme personality. Narayana Upanishad 4. Then it is said, Eko Vai Narayana Ashinna Brahma Neshano Napo Nagni Somau Neme Dvaya Aprithivi Na Nakshatrani Na Surya. In the beginning of the creation, there was only the Supreme Personality Narayana. There was no Brahma, no Shiva, no water, no fire, no moon, no heaven and earth, no stars in the sky, no sun. Maha Upanishad 1.2. In the Maha Upanishad, it is also said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the Vedas say that it is the Supreme Lord, the creator of Brahma and Shiva, who is to be worshipped. In the Moksha Dharma section of Mahabharata, Krishna also says, Prajapatim Charudram Chapi Aham Eva Shrujami Vai Tauhi Mam Navijanito Mama Maya Vimohito. The patriarchs, Shiva and others are created by me, though they do not know that they are created by me because they are deluded by my illusory energy. In the Varaha Purana, it is also said, Narayana Parodevas Tamaj Jatas Chaturmukha Tasmad Rudro Bhavad Deva Sacha Sarva Gnatam Gata. Narayana is the supreme personality of Godhead, and from him Brahma was born, from whom Shiva was born. Lord Krishna is the source of all generations, and he is called the most efficient cause of everything. He says, because everything is born of me, I am the original source of all. Everything is under me, no one is above me. There is no supreme controller other than Krishna. One who understands Krishna in such a way from a bona fide spiritual master with references from Vedic literature engages all his energy in Krishna consciousness and becomes a truly learned man. In comparison to him, all others who do not know Krishna properly are but fools. Only a fool would consider Krishna to be an ordinary man. A Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by fools. He should avoid all unauthorized commentaries and interpretations on Bhagavad Gita and proceed in Krishna consciousness with determination and firmness. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Prabhupada went a little bit over length to establish the supremacy of Krishna from quoting from various scriptures, Upanishads, and so on. Krishna is speaking that I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise, who knows perfectly this, engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. So this is for devotees, right? Who are the wise people? Wise people are those are devotees who actually take these words as it is, that Krishna is the source of spiritual and material worlds. Everything comes from Krishna alone. There's nothing beyond Krishna, and there are various supporting literature that supports that statement that Krishna is the source. And from Bhagavatam also we understand emanations, expansions of Krishna, expansions and partial expansions and plenary expansions of Krishna is Narayana. And then Narayana, from him, Garbhodak, that is also not Karanodakshay, Garbhodakshay Vishnu, who is also Narayana. From him, Lord Brahma comes, and from Lord Brahma, various other living entities like four Kumaras, Rudra himself, Lord Shiva, and all these entities come out. So Krishna is the supreme cause of everything. So this is our, in these verses, if you have heard of this terminology called Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana, is Sambandha is your relationship with the Lord. So that's the knowledge, that knowledge about our relationship with the Lord is Sambandha Gyan. So Bhagavad Gita is mostly explaining our relationship with the Lord. Who are we in relation to the Lord and who is the Lord? So that's mostly Sambandha Gyan. Abhideya Gyan is something that where you start to practice what you have learned. You put that in practice. So that becomes your Abhideya. So wherever you need to do some application, that is when you, after you gain the knowledge, then you put that in practice. That is Abhideya. Prayojana is when you realized after understanding that. So these four topics also kind of depict, I mean, not kind of, they depict these three topics basically, the Sambandha, Abhideya and Prayojana of Krishna consciousness in entirety. So this particular verse describes our relationship. We are all, everything comes from Krishna, spiritual as well as material worlds. Krishna has already spoken about the material knowledge, like how the material world is created in Bhumi Rapo Nalo Vayu, 7th chapter. And also is explained there is nothing beyond me. Everything is rests upon me as pearls are thread, as strung on a thread. Now this is adding spiritual worlds to that. Spiritual worlds are, is also source of the spiritual worlds. Everything comes from him. Only the wise can, who knows, who accept this. Otherwise, they keep challenging. Prabhupada went at length to establish first supremacy of Krishna over the other devatas like Brahma and Shiva, and also to tell those impersonalists who say that it is not Krishna who's speaking, it is some other force inside him or outside. I mean, however they describe, I don't know much, but that is how they take the meaning out of it and just say it's not Krishna who's speaking, it's just a personality, there's a person, there is someone, this. So it's something to of that sort, like impersonalism. So Prabhupada is taking us into the details of establishing supremacy of Krishna by quoting various Upanishad, and is Krishna himself, is a person himself and not an impersonalist in various sections. So I think whatever we read is whatever we have covered so far. But what the most important point that we should remember is Krishna conscious person would not be bewildered by unauthorized commentaries that are existing at that time or even all the time about how Krishna is not a person, is just like us, and there is some other force. So Prabhupada is rejecting all that. Krishna conscious person should not be bewildered by such fools who describe that unauthorized commentaries and interpretations, but become firmly established with determination in Krishna consciousness. So that's our relationship with the Lord. Did you hear a beep? Yes. Palak?
Mataji, I'm a bit confused. In this paragraph, in one line it says, in the Mahaupnishad, it is said that Lord Shiva was born from the forehead of the root Supreme Lord. And at the bottom, it says, Narayana, the Supreme Personality of the body, from him Brahma was born and from whom Shiva was born. So I'm confused that Shiva was born from Brahma or from Krishna.
Yeah, last few sessions we read one, I think last week only, yesterday only, where Krishna is the source of Brahma and Brahma is the source of Vishnu, Shiva. That is clear, right? Yeah, forehead. In here, sometimes Krishna and Brahma are used interchangeably. That particular statement where it said Shiva is born from the forehead of Brahma, the creator of Brahma. Where is that statement? So the Lord Shiva is born from forehead of Supreme Lord. Yeah, so here, so Krishna, Brahma is the origin. Brahma is coming from Krishna. This statement, I know it said that, but this actually here, the Supreme Lord here in this statement is Brahma, not Krishna. In that particular
Okay.
Maha Upanishad. So Upanishads can sometimes be, that's why we have only one Upanishad to learn, not so many Upanishads. We have only Isha Upanishad because that's very, very closely describing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and very authentically, very to some extent, not to some extent, of all the Upanishads, that has very clearly described about the Supreme Lord. Whereas the other Upanishads, they can be little confusing. That's why we don't have to get to read all the Upanishads. This is the last Upanishad, Ishopanishad, that we're going to read at this Bhakti Sastri course. That's what describes very vividly about the Supreme Lord. All others can, slightly, there are meanings that can, but here the statements in Bhagavad Gita itself will say that Krishna is the source. So better to go to the direct verses, scriptures rather than this kind of, sometimes they can be confusing. Yeah, but in that case, Supreme Lord is Brahma. We know from Bhagavatam also, Lord Shiva comes out from the forehead of Brahma.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Vigyan Prabhu, text 9. Machitta.
Hare Krishna.
Machitta.
Yes, Mataji, you say it first.
Yes. Machitta Madgata
Machita Madgata Prana
Bodhayanta Parasparam
Bodhayantaha Parasparam
Katayantascha Mam Nityam
Katayantascha Mam Nityam
Dushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha.
Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha.
Translation.
So read the translation?
You can read the purport. I'll read the translation.
Okay, sure.
The purpose of the thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service, and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Yeah, please read the purport.
Purport. Pure devotees whose characteristics are mentioned here engage themselves fully in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Their minds cannot be diverted from the lotus feet of Krishna. Their talks are solely on the transcendental topics. The symptoms of the pure devotees are described in this verse specifically. Devotees of the Supreme Lord are 24 hours daily engaged in glorifying the quality and pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Their hearts and souls are constantly submerged in Krishna, and they take pleasure in discussing him with other devotees. In the preliminary stage of devotional service, they relish the transcendental pleasure from the service itself, and in the mature stage, they are actually situated in the love of God. Once situated in that transcendental position, they can relish the highest perfection which is exhibited by the Lord in his abode. Lord Chaitanya likens transcendental devotional service to the sowing of a seed in the heart of the living entity. There are innumerable living entities traveling throughout the different planets of the universe, and out of them there are few who are fortunate enough to meet a pure devotee and get the chance to understand devotional service. This devotional service is just like a seed, and if it is sown in the heart of a living entity, and if he goes on hearing and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Ram, Hare Hare, that seed fructifies just as the seed of a tree fructifies with regular watering. The spiritual plant of devotional service gradually grows and grows until it penetrates the covering of the material universe and enters into the Brahma Jyotir effulgence in the spiritual sky. In the spiritual sky also, that plant grows more and more until it reaches the highest planet, which is called Goloka Vrindavana, the supreme planet of Krishna. Ultimately, the plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna and rests there. Gradually, as the plant grows fruits and flowers, that plant of devotional service also produces fruits, and the watering process in the form of chanting and hearing goes on. This plant of devotional service is fully described in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 19. It is explained there that when the complete plant takes shelter under the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, one becomes fully absorbed in love of God. Then he cannot live even for a moment without being in contact with the Supreme Lord, just as a fish cannot live without water. In such a state, the devotee actually attains the transcendental qualities in contact with the Supreme Lord. The Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of such narrations all about the relationship between Supreme Lord and his devotees. Therefore, the Srimad Bhagavatam is very dear to the devotees, as stated in the Bhagavatam itself. Canto 12, Chapter 13, verse 18. Srimad Bhagavatam Puranam Amalam Yad Vaishravanam Priyam. In this narration, there is nothing about material activities, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation. Srimad Bhagavatam is the only narration in which the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord and his devotees is fully described. Thus, the realized soul in Krishna consciousness take continual pleasure in hearing such transcendental literature, just as a young boy and girl take pleasure in association. Thank you.
So, this verse is about the symptoms of the devotees. What do they do after knowing Krishna is a source of all spiritual and material worlds? The wise engage in the devotional service. Yeah, we heard that verse. But what are their symptoms? What do they do in the engaging of the devotional service? What does it mean? Or how do they engage? So they engage by discussing about him. Machitta, thinking about him. Machitta is always fully engaged in my thoughts, in their mind. Madgata, their lives devoted to me. Bodhayantya, constantly discussing or talking about the subjects, preaching. Bodhayantya is teaching and parasparam among themselves. Talking among themselves or teaching each other. Kadayantyascha is talking. And Nityam. Nityam is always. Tushyanti, in that way, they are always satisfied. Tushyanti is satisfaction. Tushti, in the last 4-5 verses also, Krishna speaks about Tushti is satisfaction. Tushyanti, they become pleased. Ramanti is they enjoy the bliss. Along with the satisfaction, they also get the bliss. That's how they continue to do that. So that's what happens. In the devotees, they continuously, once they hear about Krishna, once they have understood that he is the source and he is the Supreme Lord who has to be glorified, they constantly hear. So this constant glorification is not necessarily has to be when one comes in front of a speaker or in front of a microphone on a Zoom or in front of audience. It can be within just our personal conversations also. And that's most, that is where we make most advancement rather than coming in a setup situation like a class and we speak, which is fine because there is some preparation and there is definitely it is fine. But everyone can do this among their personal conversations, within their friends circles, within their family members. If there is opportunity, just constantly discuss about, take a topic about Krishna and think and discuss. That is most pleasing to the heart. We enjoy most pleasure by doing that. And this is what Krishna is saying. By constantly thinking about me, they derive that pleasure and satisfaction. And nobody can match that satisfaction. No other thing can match with that transcendental bliss that we get in discussing Krishna's topics. Each one can talk about their experience. Today's class is only 4 verses that we have to cover. So you can explain how you have felt. What was your realization in talking about Krishna? Was there any way you did some topic about Krishna and then how was your feeling? But let me finish the entire purport. Prabhupada also speaks about this analogy of a plant, Bhaktilata Beach. Mahaprabhu has given that Bhaktilata Beach, he's quoted that. This is how he says. So the beach or the seed of Bhaktilata gets planted in the heart of the devotee. And how it grows? It grows from there, it sprouts. Just like a tree, a seed that you plant in the soil and keep watering it, it sprouts and it becomes big and it gives fruits and flowers and so much. That's the essence of the tree, right? It gives fruits and flowers. So similarly, he has analyzed and made an analogy to that of the bhakti process also. So bhakti seed is planted by the mercy of a devotee in a heart of a devotee, by the mercy into the heart of a devotee or a person. And then the person constantly hears. The hearing and chanting process is a watering process. By watering it, by watering the process, which is hearing and chanting, the bhakti sprouts within the heart and it grows. And how far it grows? It grows and grows and grows. It's very graphic that it penetrates through the Brahma Jyoti. It penetrates through that also, the plant. It's a creeper because It's growing. And then once it creeps into the Brahma Jyoti, and from there it makes way into the Vaikuntha planet and all the way into Goloka Vrindavan at the lotus feet of Krishna. So that plant from the heart of the devotee goes all the way to the Goloka Vrindavan and rests at the lotus feet of Krishna. And at the lotus feet of Krishna, what happens? Will it rest? Just like after the creeper grows for some time, finds it has done to some extent, what does it? It starts to flower and fruits. So same thing, after reaching there also, continuous chanting and remembrance of Krishna happens, parasparam. Because this is the beginning process, this is the middle process, this is the end process. The goal of chanting is to do more chanting. The goal of bhakti is to do more bhakti. So that's what is the goal. So in the spiritual world also, the soul is not just, otherwise it becomes, it will drop, it can't go. The qualification to be in the spiritual world is constantly loving Krishna. The process is to discuss about him, to think about him, to glorify him. So they are also in the spiritual world, they are constantly glorifying Krishna. And that is the process. So one may think, okay, I have made some progress, I'm good, I am satisfied with this, but it is not that. The bhakti process is never-ending process, eternal process. It's the means as well as the goal. It is the beginning, it is the middle, it is the end. Bhakti is all the way through. Only thing that keeps enhancing is the faith. The faith becomes more condensed. The faith becomes more enhanced in all the processes of bhakti, all the way throughout. So that is this verse. Anybody wants to share their? Did anybody put your hand up? Yes, Doshi Mataji.
Mataji, Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam. Mataji, I had a, I thought I had a amazing, like, assume, like, after the spiritual world, like, if somebody who is a sadhak of Brahma Jyoti, then once they get really into the Brahma Jyoti, they get immersed there. After that, their journey stops, and this is what they achieve. So, is it any further, like what we are reading here? There is further journey after that. Even in there also we can do more bhakti, and still the goal is higher. So, is it like that, or after Brahma Jyoti, whoever is upasak of Brahma Jyoti, they attains the God in the form of Brahma Jyoti?
So Upasakas of Brahma Jyoti, these are the bhaktas who are Krishna bhaktas, what we just discussed. The Upasakas of Brahma Jyoti, they will stop there, right? They will not, because they don't want to know further. They don't even think Krishna is a person. So they stay, that's what they remain there. But then after some time, because there is no engagement to the senses, there is a chance they may stay there if they are occupied without doing anything with their senses. But because they want to do something, they can come down into the material world from Brahma Jyoti.
Okay. Okay, Mataji. So, like, if any bhakta who wants to doing bhakti only, and Krishna, Radha Krishna upasak, they can also, if there is anything, like, if they cannot go up to the Golok Dham, they will go to some spiritual, like Brahma Jyoti or somewhere, and they will continue their journey from there.
Yeah, they'll continue their journey from there. So once you have reached the Vaikuntha planet, then that's the end of it, right? But who are you worshipping? Like, I'm not understanding your question fully. If you can explain me more.
Okay. Mataji, I got confused because I thought once any upasak who is doing like Brahma Jyoti, whoever is upasak of Brahma Jyoti, as you answered, they once they attains the Brahma Jyoti, they are good, they are settled there, right? They got moksha, and similar way, but we said there's a middle level. So middle level, and then from spiritual world also, there is a further, they can do further bhakti. So spiritual world is not Brahma Jyoti, right, Mataji? That's different thing.
Spiritual world is beyond Brahma Jyoti. If you again go back to the picture where it depicts about the a universal depiction of the universe, and not just the material world, but the spiritual world also. Brahmajyoti is in between the universe, the material world, and the spiritual world. Middle layer is
Okay.
Brahmajyoti.
Yes,
There
sorry,
it is.
I got confused with middle level. I thought it's Brahma Jyoti. Middle level is.
Oh, I meant to say middle, meaning the beginning, the middle, and the end. It is all the way the process. Like you have something, you start, you're in the midway, like how we are in the midway in the Bhakti Sastri module 2. And then there is an end when we module 2 is finished, right? The beginning, middle, and end. So Bhakti is all the way through. From the beginning, in the middle, all it's a means and the goal. Means you're it's all the way throughout. From the beginning, throughout the process, and the goal, and when you reach the goal also, you're doing bhakti only. I meant to say that. When I said middle, if you've got confused with that word middle, it is this, that the bhakti process is starting off with the bhakti, during the process also bhakti, at the end of the process also bhakti. That's what I mean.
Okay, Mata. Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Okay, so let's hear. Yeah, Debbie.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this just to remind me, I can also speak about how Krishna consciousness I can use in my personal life as well. My family, they're non-devotees. I have nieces, their parents are Shaivites. And ever since I became a devotee, I always wanted to share Krishna with them. So I would share books with them. And there was once my sister told me that my nieces started telling the tales that I was telling her, reciting. And for me, I always feel joy that I'm bringing Krishna to their life. And so it makes you happy that when they see me, they say the Maha Mantra, or they'll say like the story about Krishna eating the mud and showing the universe to Mother Yashoda, or stealing butter from a pot. And this is a 4-year-old or a 2-year-old niece reciting it. So that little joy that I get, that I can still share Krishna in their lives. But this also helps me when I do preaching, when we're doing book distribution for children. I speak to other kids how I'm speaking to my nieces. So that's a way to connect with them as well, and also share the love of Krishna. When they're a young age, that's also a beautiful time to share the love of Krishna, because they have an opportunity to be Krishna conscious for their entire lifetime when we expose them to such a young age. So that's like the little happiness that you get when a child is so excited by Krishna.
That's a bliss we are deriving, right? So this
Yes.
bliss is continuing throughout, from the beginning till the end.
Yes. So that's one of my realizations that this
Sure.
verse gave me.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mataji, the game changer in Krishna conscious, my realization, and I saw so many lives, is sharing about Krishna, and especially to the extent what we know. Even Prabhupada says in Bhagavatam, and I also experienced this. When we are sharing about Krishna, we get a much deeper realizations, and there are certain concepts which we struggle to understand. When we start sharing, it will be easy. We will understand actually that what it happens. Not only it happened even in middle education also when I was in college, and but I even my lecturer said that one day, so I was amazed. But when I came to Krishna consciousness, Prabhupada mentions that we have to keep sharing, like to the extent we need not to be completely pure devotees or in a Paramahamsa level, but to the extent what we can relate, we are which is nourishing our hearts and our consciousness. That much we can share, and with that sharing, it actually it multifoldly we can progress in Krishna consciousness, and it also serves as a net even when if we slip when we are climbing that ladder, because we keep on repeating. What scientifically happens is we are also reminding our own mind. So this is a phenomena which acts wonderfully, actually it's miraculous. So this is one realization, and we can actually share Krishna conscious with everyone. Like before the class, Mataji was asking about this one, what you are seeing now. So I was actually talking to my colleague, he who is a Bangladeshi Muslim, and his name is Rifat Jaman, and he's a very good graphic designer. He gifted. This is the grace of Prabhupada. This is Prabhupada can take service from anybody. So we were discussing about then we thought, okay, it's a Corona time. Everybody is locked inside the home and everybody is worried. We thought, okay, this is a time to start online preaching, and we started. And he helped me to design the entire this one, and this actually Prabhupada engaged him also in the service. So So preaching, that's why like we have the four basics, four things what Prabhupada says. And the last one is the preaching is the essence. So actually it made a lot of sense for me when I started sharing this. Obviously, I'm not a great preacher. I cannot really pronounce very well the slokas especially. But the beauty of Krishna consciousness is, as you mentioned, and everybody can relate. It doesn't need a high, great experience or a lot of intellect. Where it's sometimes it's very basics. If you see, it's like the means and ends are same in Krishna consciousness. Like if you see any material activity, the means is something, but the end is always tragic. Everybody can relate it. Like we build a house, or we have one day we leave the house. We cannot take it with us. Or you take anything, even if it's a big career, one day you will have to retire. Then it will be, I saw so many people like they can't digest retirement within my own family. And I can see like people like when we are passing, leaving the body, that's much stressful. But if you see, as you mentioned wonderfully, the Krishna conscious is the means and ends are same, and at every level. It's not that at all these three. You explained very nicely this sambandha, abhyudaya, prayojana. Everybody relate to in a different way, but it is more practical. Like sambandha is understanding, so we are understanding what is Krishna consciousness, how it helps me, and abhyudaya is we start applying it, and it gives you more pleasure, more happiness, and it helps us to overcome so many unwanted habits or unnecessary things we have got into already. And the prayojana, when we see the realization, reflection, it's much more happiness. So yes, Mataji. So the preaching is the essence. What Prabhupada says started with the books are the basics, and the second thing, utility is the purpose, and purity is the force, and preaching is the essence. So, but the preaching is, even we start with the preaching is the essence. Among, as you nicely mentioned, with maybe the one or two friends, or we not have a thousands of people gathered and we'll be sitting on telling it, but even with one to one also, it has an amazing results actually. And it helps us a lot. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu, for sharing your personal realizations. Yeah, that's how it is. That's why we need to spend time to reminiscence that. It helps to build our own faith. Yeah, anybody else? I'm sure most of you are preaching, would reach somehow or the other, even with your friends, colleagues. Yeah. Palak.
So thank you everybody for sharing such amazing realizations. I kind of learned from them. So for me, Mataji, I'm not at a stage where I feel that I can talk about it with my friends. I can about it with my family because my mother is Krishna consciousness. So it's easy to share these things with her. But I think one realization that I've had is that I think the faith strengthens over time. I can recall that if some situation would happen in my life before I was into Krishna consciousness, I might feel devastated, right? That I would be like, why is this happening to me? Why? Like, I would feel this could be the end of life. What's the point? Blah, blah, blah. Even though I would keep going, but the kind of sadness I would feel was very extreme. But now, and I don't feel the sadness to that extent. I probably would be sad for a second about something, but the very next moment, I am okay with everything in my life. So I think that is something that has drastically changed. And I think that is coming from the increasing faith in Krishna consciousness and learning more about it from the books. I feel the books are really important and people do not, you can't know until you read books. I feel reading the books is very, very important. Otherwise, everything can sound very vague and you don't know where everything is coming from. So that's my realization. But of course, I want to reach a level where I am confidently able to talk about it with people. Uh, I'm also kind of scared. If you remember, I asked one question that, you know, how do you make sure that, that it's okay to speak to these people? Like, I try to create a boundary where, it's like you do you, I do me, right? You do what makes you happy. So that is the boundary that always remains in my mind. And I do not cross that when somebody is going through something because they probably haven't even heard of Krishna consciousness, right? So that is something that I'm not able to cross. until I know that they're already in it, then I might speak about it, but I will never say it if they're not in it. I don't know how to do that, but that's where I would want to be.
That's an art, right? Preaching, again, if you go with the books and start talking from the books, they'll say, please leave. Because something that you, unless they're open to hear you, you cannot speak directly to them about. If they're open, then definitely you can speak as much. But the thing is, that is an art that we need to extend ourselves in various ways. So we need to be creative and how we can extend ourselves. Prasadam is a very good start. Many people say prasadam is a heart. From the stomach, you can reach the heart, right? So that's the way we can, because prasadam has got this potency because it's been offered to Krishna. We don't know what Krishna potency is been built, is been induced into it. So if they eat, then there is some change in the heart. They become little conducive to hear you. That's one. Another thing is, it doesn't have to be directly from scripture, like quoting this verse or that verse or heavy topics. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be very small, like you're open to hear them speak and connecting that as there is a super soul. Super soul is hearing, everyone has super soul. It's not just only devotees have, right? So you can hear it and understand how the super soul is, even if they're expressing some grief or some whatever, like how super soul is giving them the way so that they can become more, become, their heart is like ready to receive anything that you say. So any opportunity can be grabbed in that way. So, but it doesn't have to be very glaringly put that, oh, this is Krishna, or you start speaking to your karma because of it. So these things can put away people. So it has to be very subtly done. So if you gain that conviction within yourself, that comes out in situations. So it's all about building yourself and extending yourself. Yeah, Kanika.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, I would like to like talk about my colleagues. I mean, like most of my colleagues are not Indian, and it's really cute because if I like, it's very the conversation is so natural that if they ask me, oh, what do you do over the weekend, and I said, oh yeah, I volunteered a little, I went to the temple, and then suddenly they'll become curious. They're like, oh, so what do you do? And at that time, I'll be very honest. I'm like, oh, I just have a blast. I just go, I just eat, I just sing, dance, and I come back. Like I don't really at that time talk about like go full gung ho like on them saying that, oh, I also attend Bhakti Sastri class, I'm also reading these books. I don't do that. And then I feel it's like very sweet, it's very cute. They'll suddenly go like, oh, so do you have to be Indian, do you have to be Hindu to go? I'm like, oh, absolutely not. The only requirement is you need to take your shoes off. I mean, if you can negotiate that, if that's not a big ask. So then they'll say, okay, okay, okay. And then when I see that they're like just about to very very hesitant but just really what they want, they're interested, then I'll give them two options that if you want to like have a good get the big experience, then come for the morning program because there is less crowd, you know, you'll get to see the deity in peace, you can eat, you know, the prasadam is there. And but then I'll say, yeah, but then you'll have to like sit through the class if you want prasadam, if you want food. You know, I'll like downplay the class and just upplay the food and the deity, what they look like. But if you really just want to dance, then maybe the evening kirtan would be a good time. And then maybe a week later, they'll go like, some of them have gone like, okay, we'll join you in the morning. Some will say, oh, we prefer evening. And then when they come, it's really, I feel it's like the deity doing its magic. I have like zero role to play because when they're looking at the deity, I'll tell them I'm going to bow. You don't necessarily have to bow. They're like, no, no, we want to bow. Then they'll actually read the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and in their accent, they'll try to like, when people are singing, they'll try to like repeat that. And then even in the Bhagavatam class, I'll tell them, you don't have to read any of the shlokas or anything. You know, it's okay. When your turn comes, just say pass. They're like, no, 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 we'll give it a shot. And then they'll eat prasadam, and they've had Indian food before at restaurants, but you know that's not the same as prasadam. And then they'll go like, "Oh, this seems unique. What is this?" And then you're like sitting there explaining buttermilk to them and like whatever they make South Indian upma to them or whatever. So it's really I feel what everything like the deity really does the magic. You don't really do anything. I mean, I might have just been their friend, but I don't think I did anything except that. I'm not being humble. I'm just being honest that, you know, I'll just downplay the serious stuff and upplay the fun part. And then they'll be like, okay. let's do this. And then, you know, the people even at the temple are like sweethearts, right? All the Bhakti Academy students, they'll like come and talk to them. And then later on, they'll ask me what happened to that friend. You know, we are missing them, call them back. And that is where it becomes a little tricky, because then I don't want to sound like some fanatic who tells them, I go every Sunday, so you should go every Sunday too. So I don't do that then. Then I just keep talking about my routine. And then some days they'll say, okay, we'll come again. So that part I leave to them. I'll just keep talking about my routine. Like I'm just a yapper. So I feel mainly it's the deity doing the magic.
Nice. Yeah. This is the outreach, right? Western outreach. So you're not too much into them, too much preaching, just touching upon, giving prasadam. Prasadam does the wonders. And deity, of course, temple ambience. What can replace that? Yeah, that's very nice actually, Kanika. Extending yourself. Yeah, I know you have shared some pictures sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, continue that. Maybe books. Maybe next thing is to give books.
Yeah, I mean, like when they come to the temple, like sometimes, like you know, that the 4 questions, that book is like very basic. Like it's basic in the sense. I mean, I'm reading it, and I wouldn't call myself basic, but I love the way the book is written, because it's basic in the sense that even if you've taken Bhakti Shastri courses, when you read it at a very basic level, you understand. Oh, okay, this is what they're trying to really say. Like you know, you're able to see the forest for the trees. So that book I've seen where, you know, Bhakti Academy students are sweethearts. They'll just give it to my guests and say, here you go, you know. And then I just play it down that, oh, it's just like a return gift with food. You know, read it, don't read it, up to you. So I've noticed that when you do like complete reverse psychology, oh, you don't have to
Exactly.
do just leave it. I mean, just come for the food. And then they're like, no, okay, we'll sit through the class, we'll read the verses. And then it's very cute. Some people will ask, what does Hari Bol mean? What does Jai mean? Why do you keep saying Jai? You know, so I'll tell them it means hooray, you know. So I really feel the deity does the magic. You just talk. I was just literally just talking about myself. I wasn't honestly trying to do outreach or preach.
That's nice, actually. Nice of you. I think it goes with your personality as well. Anybody else? I'm sure everyone has many things you want me to call upon. Begin, Prabhu, why don't you share?
Yes, Mataji.
Why don't you share your experience?
In this regard, I have to think. Mm,
Anything, it doesn't have to, however, others have said, it is however you have done it. Not necessarily that should fit in any of the above that was spoken. This is you alone who have done, reached out to someone, colleague, a family member, like that.
okay. So yeah, while mm, yeah, in the family member also, while we just speak about the Lord, or yeah, while we discuss the Lord's stories, and it's definitely yeah, will be in a different level of energy. Yeah. So yeah, there would be some kind of disagreements or different opinions, but yeah, when it comes to Lord's satisfaction or Lord's service, then we are somehow or other just in a kind of coordination, so that we keep the Lord at the supermost position, and that way. So reading the story of the Lord's the books, then yeah, it's already a blissful time, because that's dedicated towards the Lord. So yeah, whenever there's a service of the Lord, or whenever there's discussion about the Lord, the stories from Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita, then that moment is always free from other disagreements, and that's always a blissful moment. Yeah, that
Yeah.
I've experienced.
Nice, Prabhu. Krishna is he's
Yeah.
settles everything. Any disagreements, any.
Yes.
Thank you. Sharon, you have to say anything quickly?
Yeah, so in my family, I'm the only one who is in Krishna consciousness, but they've started to gradually acknowledge that. And the major step that I have made progress is that when I speak to them, I say Hare Krishna, Radhe Radhe. They started, coming back, like reciprocating that greeting. So at least I've gotten them started on that. Just one thing I'd like to mention in experience, I started using tilak. I wasn't applying tilak earlier. And I have started to proudly go out in the public with my tilak. And Whole Foods, one day, a stranger, she just saw me and she said, "Are you Hare Krishna?" And I was so happy. I said, "Yes." We greeted each other, Hare Krishna. After that, I noticed a few times as I was crossing, this girl, when she ever comes in front of me, maybe she also lives in the neighborhood, she looks at me and then she immediately comes, she smiles and she says Hare Krishna. So that just makes my evening every time we bump into each other. And this is a total stranger only recognizing me through the tilak. So that's just my small experience compared to Kanika's. That's huge.
Every experience is unique, and one heart you are inspired. Once they're saying Hare Krishna, it is like lifetime's changed.
Yeah, even Tim's, I went the other day and my tilak was partially taken away because when I sweat or anything, wear the hat, it gets smudged. This guy at Tim's, he said, "Oh, are you associated with ISKCON?" And I smiled and I said, "Yes." And I said, "Hare Krishna." He said, "Hare Krishna." So it's this tilak is now very interesting. It's and I used to be very conscious before. Now I'm not anymore. And I just enjoy that feeling of that greeting Hare Krishna mutually with strangers.
Yeah. Maybe you have one more to share?
I wanted to praise one of the devotees on this call. She's being quiet, Ramina Mataji, because she was actually one of the first devotees I met when I started Krishna consciousness, or when I started coming to the temple on Rath Yatra. That's when I met her. And I was telling her the challenges I had in my personal life with my family because they were not accepting of me adopting something that's different from their cultural practice. Because we pray Durga or Shivji from my family. They didn't like me praying Krishna. And they didn't like me having the sattvic diet, onion garlic diet. So I used to pick out the onion and garlic from the food that my mom would cook and throw it in the compost to prevent myself from eating. And when I told this to Ramina Mata, she said, make sure you take extra prasadam from the Rath Yatra, take it home, give it to your mother. This prasadam is so powerful, it will change your mind. That day, my mom agreed for me to accept this diet. So that's something that I'll always, she's very shy on this call. And she also told me to remember or learn some mantras. So I wanted to glorify her because
Right.
she's one of the reasons I'm in my Krishna conscious journey. Like sometimes the association is so important when you come in because everything's so new, you can easily get lost. You can come in, but you can get out very quickly. So she was one of the devotees that helped me
Stay.
make sure that I maintain my positive family dynamics, but also practice Krishna consciousness.
Nice.
So
Mataji, I'd like to hear from you. So, yeah, we'll continue with the session now. Yeah, Ramina Mataji is quiet sometimes. She's not quiet, I know her. Okay, let's go to 10th verse.
Sorry, Mataji. Just
Yes.
say something about Devi Mataji.
Ah.
She's very active in the temple, like taking care of all the new devotees and distributing books, and very active. I really appreciate her service at the temple. I bow you for that. Thank you, Mataji.
Thanks.
thank you, Prabhu. It's a service to serve everyone. So thank you for that.
Vishaladhari Prabhu, can you recite after?
Sure. Yeah.
Tekam satayuktanam
Tesam Satayuktanam
bhajatam pritipurvakam
Bhajatam Priti Purvakam
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam
Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam
Yenamam Upayanti Te.
Yena Mam Upayanti Te.
To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Yeah. Small purport. Please read.
Yeah. In this verse, the word Buddhi Yogam is very significant. We may remember that in second chapter of the Lord instructing Arjuna said that he had spoken to him of many things and that he would instruct him in the way of Buddhi Yoga. Now Buddhi Yoga is explained. Buddhi Yoga itself is action in Krishna consciousness. That is the highest intelligence. Buddhi means intelligence and yoga means mystic activities or mystic elevation. When one tries to go back home, back to Godhead, and takes fully to Krishna consciousness in devotional service, his action is called Buddhi Yoga. In other words, Buddhi Yoga is the process by which one gets out of entanglement of this material world. The ultimate goal is the ultimate goal of progress is Krishna. People do not know this, therefore, the association of devotees and a bona fide spiritual master are important. One should know that the goal is Krishna, and when the goal is assigned, then the path is slowly but progressively traversed, and the ultimate goal is achieved. When a person knows the goal of life but is addicted to the fruits of activities, he is acting in Karma Yoga. When he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculations to understand Krishna, he is acting in Jnana Yoga. And when he knows the goal and seeks Krishna completely in Krishna consciousness and devotional service, he is acting in Bhakti Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, which is complete yoga. This complete yoga is the highest perfectional stage of life. A person may have a bona fide spiritual master and may be attached to a spiritual organization, but still, if he is not intelligent enough to make progress, then Krishna from within gives him instruction so that he may ultimately come to him without difficulty. The qualification is that a person always engage himself in Krishna consciousness and with love and devotion render all kinds of services. He should perform some sort of work for Krishna, and that work should be with love. If a devotee is not intelligent enough to make progress on the path of self-realization, but is sincere and devoted to activities of devotional service, the Lord gives him a chance to make progress and ultimately attain to him. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So this verse is the Krishna's reciprocation. So far we have this set of verses talk about bhakti, bhakta, and the process. So this is bhakti process that Krishna is reciprocating with the devotee. To those who are constantly devoted to serving me with that love, that kind of love, what we just heard, which is Dushanti Charamanticha, always, Parasparam Bodayantyascha, Katayantyascha, if they constantly do that, because they're serving Krishna in that way with love, I give understanding by which they can come to me. So this is the reciprocation of the Lord. So though, however you do, see examples of what you have all spoken. This is inspiration from Krishna, right? For example, wearing tilak or reaching to the devotees in certain way, not to give too much of Krishna conscious jargon, but just keeping it simple, talk more about prasadam. Where is this coming from? This is Krishna's giving us that intelligence, it's buddhi. That buddhi is what is given by Krishna. Because you are making an attempt to do something out of your own will or out of your own way to reach to the hearts of different people who are out there, conditioned souls. So Krishna is making arrangements so that there is some intelligence that is given to us so that we can approach them appropriately. So this is that buddhi, and buddhi yoga here and Krishna consciousness can be interchanged. Prabhupada always says buddhi yoga itself is Krishna consciousness, but buddhi yoga from what Krishna is talking about is that intelligence, that spiritual intelligence. real intelligence is what is spiritual intelligence that is given to us so that we can approach. And this is Krishna's reciprocation. So also one purport, in the purport last section, Prabhupada speaks that this person who is devoted to the process of bhakti, he may not be intelligent in reading scriptures. However, he will be given all the realization that is required for him to progress. And in cases when the person is not too attached to spiritual master is there, and he's also attached to spiritual master and the process. So for him, the path is very clear. He'll make continuous progress. For example, if he's not very attached to spiritual master, however, he's very attached to the process of coming to the temple, doing the process, chanting, reading, associating with devotees with respect, and honoring everything that are related to the Lord, which are all process of devotion service. So to that person also, even if it is not too attached to the spiritual master's instructions, to that person also Krishna helps so that he makes progress. He can come to him slowly. That's what Prabhupada is saying. He may have his bona fide spiritual master and may be attached, but if still he is not intelligent enough to make progress, and Krishna from within gives. What does it, but still he is not intelligent, that means it's not taking the association of the spiritual master so much. Or organization itself so much. For example, people who may have left movement at some point. But if they are doing that within themselves, Krishna is giving them intelligence, how they can still be connected to the process in the moment and make progress. So that is Krishna's reciprocation. See, everything is there in these verses. So Krishna's is giving, like you, everything is coming from me. You do devotion service, I protect. In a different way, Krishna is saying. In the earlier Yoga Kshemam, here is talking about, I give them the intelligence by which you come to me, which is nothing but your yoga kshem, right? Krishna is protecting is carrying what you lack and preserving what you have. This is what is that, yoga kshem. Similar to our verse, which is on 7:22. Sorry, 9:22. 9:22. Yeah, that's what is this verse. Krishna is protecting our yoga and kshema. Yes. Yeah, Palak.
Mataji, I don't have a question from this, but we were just discussing how to elevate people, right, in Krishna consciousness, and how can we bring them more into this. So I know somebody who has been going to temple every day for the last, I think, 15 years, I guess, right? But so they consume prasadam every day. They do not eat onion, garlic, anything, following the processes, right? But the thing is, I always find them, so they haven't read Gita entirely. Okay, they might have done that way back, but they haven't done. They have not taken an initiative to read Gita again entirely. They have not read Bhagavatam in the 15 years of being associated with Krishna consciousness, right? And I always see them, asking for something or the other. That this time I'm expecting Krishna to do this for me. I'm expecting Krishna to do this for me. It's more like it's an exchange that, I will continue to do this and I want you to provide me this. I will continue to do this. You will provide me with this. I tried talking to them that this is, I don't know, this is like you're just trying to get your stuff done. And where is the devotion, right? Where is the love? You're just loving the day you realize that your needs are not being fulfilled, probably you won't be there anymore, right? Or you will probably be patient enough that it will happen in years and years. You might stay. What do you tell that person? Because they'll always have excuses, I have this, so I cannot do the entire reading. I have this, I cannot do the reading. How do you elevate them? Because the basics, they're doing everything, going to temple every day, eating prasadam and everything. How do you help them?
Are they open to read?
Yeah, they're open to read. It's just that they have excuses as well to not read. That I'm busy with this, I'm busy with that.
Yeah, so then it has to be very short, 5 minutes. Can 5 minutes be given? That's all you have to say. You don't have to say, yeah, I also don't have time. We can just read for 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes, just one verse. How much will you like that? So if you can reach out to them, extend yourself, So they can become attached to reading, because you see the clearly what is happening with them. They are attached to the process. Krishna is not leaving them. They are not leaving Krishna. However, the progress is not, it's like a plateau rather than some kind of a curve, some steep line. So that's because the Shastra is making that difference. Shastra gives that intelligence, right? The perspective on how to approach things. Shastra gives. So we need to have Shastras backup, definitely. Otherwise, we'll become like that. Krishna won't leave them and they won't leave Krishna. So that will continue. They are like those devotees who are, Krishna says that you are distressed, you come to me. Soon enough, they realize if it can be this lifetime, it's good. Right? Krishna says, after many, many lifetimes, they realize, oh, how long will I exchange this? Let me just surrender to Krishna. So that can happen. But yeah, you can extend if you have the means and opportunity. If you can extend saying, let's read only for one verse, however much time it takes. That's all we have to do. We don't have to do anything. Join some Zoom. And maybe they're not interested in joining. So many Zooms are there already. So they are not interested. So you can, it has to be personal. If you really want to make any personal, reach out to them. Ask them only 5 minutes to read. How much? Put timer also. How much ever we can read in 5 minutes, that's it for the day. And we'll do that. Like that.
That's a good idea, Mataji. Thank you so much. And how do you change this mentality that, you should not be...
We don't have to do anything. Just let them read. Krishna will do everything. See, again, if we start thinking that I have to change mentality, it'll work reverse. We can't change anything. We can only be an instrument. That's it. And Krishna will
Thank you. Okay.
Yes. Couple of devotees.
Just one thing in this regard, I've seen that people who are intimidated by the whole Bhagavad Gita, having them attend the 18-day overview course could be very helpful, because that is small, that is doable, and that gradually gets them into the message, and then they can take on the advanced Bhagavad Gita course if Krishna gives them that intelligence.
Yes, Mataji. I feel that the problem that I feel like when they listen so much, of course, they attend classes at ISKCON temple, whatever there is after the class, right? Or whatever there is after the puja and everything. But the thing is, I feel it's very difficult for them to draw parallels between what they're reading and drawing it to their life, the practical application. I think that's what it is missing. So I feel, somebody really needs to sit and tell them that, see, you are reading this verse, this is what it means, and this is how it applies to your life. I feel that piece is missing, even when they go to those readings. And as you know, that in that overarching thing, of course, they know the overarching philosophy, but they don't know how to apply it in their life. I think that's what is missing.
Yeah, personal touch we can extend ourselves. That can be our service without any expectation. Yes,
Yes.
Prabhu.
Yes, Mataji, the verse what we just read, text number 10, the second paragraph seems to be very important paragraph. Just asking you a mundane question, that it is saying that when he knows that the goal is Krishna, but he takes pleasure in mental speculation to understand Krishna is acting in Jnana Yoga. Just wonder what is the meaning of mental speculation and what is the pleasure out of it?
Yeah, this is a jnana, inquisitiveness, like we have heard, right? He wants to know, maybe this, maybe that, maybe this is what Krishna means, putting their own interpretations. That is mental speculation. So when you put our own interpretation rather than what acharyas are telling, then that becomes mental speculation. It can become very, it may not be even be on the platform of Jnana Yoga anymore. It can be mental speculation. But Krishna is saying, Prabhupada is saying that they take pleasure in that, talking about, like, it could be in this angle, that angle of Jnana. Like, in the sense, it can be sometimes Sankhya also. Sankhya Yoga is some kind of a Jnana only. Like, they are analyzing things. So when you keep analyzing something and go to the root of it, you'll find who? You'll find Krishna only. But who has time to do that much of analysis? It can become a paralysis of that analysis. So it's like that. So we we don't want to speculate too much also. We just have to accept things as laid out by acharyas. Prabhupada has said something, you can blindly accept to start off. And then, because you have done that austerity of accepting it, Krishna will ensure, he'll take it upon himself to reveal it to you, what it means. I'm sure this happens. This is what, if you have that little faith, don't call it as blind faith, that Adau Shraddha is what the right term is, not blind Shraddha. Adau Shraddha, little bit of faith. You have it, accept it, just go with it. Then Krishna will make sure that that particular thing is being revealed to you in due course of time. It happens. It has happened with me. So that's what we don't want. So we don't want to be on the mental speculation, be stuck there, analyzing things in different ways. So that becomes jnana. Yeah, that's what. It's not, I'm going to say jnana yoga also, because there is nothing about, it's all about, analyzing things in different ways. But Prabhupada is saying that, so we'll go with that. Maybe there is some way to say when it becomes a jnana yoga for mental speculation. Let's accept that and go. Maybe it will be revealed soon enough. Okay, last verse for the day is also a very beautiful verse. I'll go back to this. Yesterday, some of you did. Toshi Mataji, most of you did you recite yesterday? Are you there? Okay, Sonal Mataji, please recite.
Yes, Mataji.
Teshamevanukampartam
Teshamevanukampartham
aham ajnanajam tamaha
aham ajnanajam tamaha
nashayami atma bhavasto
nashyami atma bhavastho
jnanadipena bhasvata.
jnanadipena bhasvata.
To show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. Please read. Oh, it's a big purport. Plus, quickly read.
Okay, just a moment. My screen, I don't know what happened to it. Just a second. Sorry.
Okay, until then I'll read. Let me know when you are ready. When Lord Chaitanya was in Benares promulgating the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, thousands of people were following him. Prakashananda Saraswati, a very influential and learned scholar in Benares at that time, derided Lord Chaitanya for being a sentimentalist. Sometimes Mayavadi philosophers criticize the devotees because they think that most of the devotees are in the darkness of ignorance and are philosophically naive sentimentalists. Actually, that is not the fact. There are very, very learned scholars and have put forward the philosophy of devotion. But even if a devotee does not take advantage of the literatures or his spiritual master, if he is sincere in his devotion service, he is held with Krishna himself within his heart. Yes, please continue. You are ready? So, the sincere devotee engaged in Krishna consciousness cannot be without knowledge. The only qualification is that one carry out devotion service in full Krishna consciousness. The Mayavadi philosophers think that without discriminating, one cannot have pure knowledge. But then this answer is given by the Supreme Lord. Those who are engaged in pure devotion service, even though they may be without sufficient education and even without sufficient knowledge of the Vedic principles, are still helped by the Supreme Lord as stated in this verse. The Lord tells Arjuna that basically there is no possibility of understanding the Supreme Truth, the Absolute Truth, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, simply by speculating. For the Supreme Truth is so great that it is not possible to understand Him or to achieve Him simply by making a mental effort. Man can go on speculating for several millions of years, and if he is not devoted, if he is not a lover of the Supreme Truth, he will never understand Krishna or the Supreme Truth. Only by devotional service of the Supreme Truth, Krishna, pleased and by his inconceivable energy, he can reveal himself to the heart of the pure devotee. The pure devotee always has Krishna within his heart. And with the presence of Krishna, who is just like the sun, the darkness of ignorance is at once dissipated. This is a special mercy rendered to the pure devotee by Krishna. Due to the contamination of material association, through many, many millions of births, one's heart is always covered with the dust of materialism. But when one engages in devotion service and constantly chants Hare Krishna, The dust quickly clears and one is elevated to the platform of pure knowledge. The ultimate goal, Vishnu, can be attained only by this chant and by devotional service, and not by mental speculation or argument. The pure devotee does not have to worry about the material necessities of life. He need not be anxious because when he removes the darkness from his heart, everything is provided automatically by the Supreme Lord, who is pleased by the loving devotional service of the devotee. This is the essence of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. By studying Bhagavad Gita, one can become a soul completely surrendered to the Supreme Lord and engage himself in pure devotional service. As the Lord takes charge, one becomes completely free from all kinds of materialistic endeavors. So that's the purport. So this verse is about Krishna gives a special mercy dwelling in their hearts, described with a shining lamp of knowledge, the darkness born of ignorance. This is Krishna's reciprocation continued. He gives them that mercy from within the heart. Because of that mercy, the knowledge becomes as if it is shining. That knowledge is glorified within the heart, and the ignorance is removed, which is similar to the darkness. That is Krishna's mercy. And people may think in different way because you're not reading scriptures. Sometimes that can happen. Lord Chaitanya encountered this. You're only chanting Hare Krishna, not reading scriptures. Whereas these impersonal Mayavadi philosophers, they were in Prakashananda Saraswati, they were thinking that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is sentimentalist because he's only chanting Hare Krishna. And Mahaprabhu said, yeah, I'm number one fool. My spiritual master only told me to chant Hare Krishna and do nothing. Don't read anything else. Just that. That's what he said. And I'm doing that. I'm a fool. That's what he said. But then they realized later on that he's not a fool. He is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, teaching the right way of how one should approach the Lord. Not reading Mayavadi philosophy, but chanting Hare Krishna and reading the scriptures of the devotees. So that's when he encouraged his disciples to come up with the scriptures, write the scriptures, glorifying the bhakti process. Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Shiva Goswami. So they have written so much of bhakti scriptures literature that we will follow and read. So this is what Krishna gives. Even in the example of that devotee Brahmana, yesterday we heard about him. He didn't have the knowledge. However, he got the essence of Bhagavad Gita by reading it, however way he is reading, not with all the pronunciation and all the meanings. But he got the essence because if we can move his heart and have feelings for Krishna, what else is required? That's the essence of Bhagavad Gita, right? At the end of reading Bhagavad Gita, we don't want to become philosophers of Bhagavad Gita. As a byproduct of it, we may get some knowledge on the philosophy and as well as pronunciation, as well as some understanding of the verses in a better way. But the end of reading Bhagavad Gita is we become Krishna Bhaktas. We become more devoted to Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita, understanding his greatness, his sweetness, how he is protecting his devotees, how he wants us to come to him. We have developed our faith, we have increased our faith. That is the essence of philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. As a byproduct, we can get other things also. So this is what Krishna gives us from by understanding, by continuing on that process. It gives us a special mercy by which we can remove that knowledge and develop remove the darkness and develop the knowledge from within the heart. Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts? I just want to keep it short today in time. There may be other engagements for the devotees considering it is Sunday. Okay, there are no other questions or thoughts or comments. We'll wind up the call for the day. We'll continue next week and we'll complete the 10th chapter next week. Next verses will be quick because Krishna is going to speak about his opulences. Before that, Arjuna will glorify Krishna next week, Saturday. Sunday will complete the opulence part. That will go quickly because it's all single verses, no much purports, just understanding the translations. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Mataji.
वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय। श्री प्रभुपाद।
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.